Hello and welcome to Shopping for the Real You. I'm Andrea Flommer, the author of Shopping for the Real You. And it's my delight today to welcome Amanda Weil from Amanda Weil Style. There are many reasons why I wanted Amanda to be on my show today because she does something really wonderful, very exciting, and we'll get to that toward the end. That's a teaser. But first of all, Amanda, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrea. It's lovely to
Okay.
be
So, to start with, I know that you were in the corporate world for quite a while, and now you're working in a more hands-on, high-touch area, which I love. And I want to know what that transition was like for you. How and why did you move from being in that world to working with clients directly in terms of style?
I love this question. I love this question. It's interesting because I've always loved style and clothes. I mean, I was the one that had like 50 Barbies and was always dressing them up and loved to go shopping on the weekend and just put together outfits. And I always thought I would go into the field of fashion, and I got directed away from it for various reasons. I was told that you don't make a lot of money and it's really hard and all these things. So I went down the path of corporate America. And in hindsight, I'm so grateful because I learned so much in corporate America about how to run a business. And so I was in corporate for 12, 13 years in digital advertising, branded integration. I was in LA working for like Yahoo and Sony and doing all that. And it was great until it wasn't. And I felt like I got to a point where my soul was craving something more. It was craving something deeper. And I started doing a lot of personal development work and leadership work, and started to realize that I had a lot of stories that I had made up about styling and being a stylist, and that it was a stupid profession, and I had a college degree. Why would I be just like wasting that to take people shopping? It's so fascinating to look back. And once I started to really unravel that, I realized that actually style is so much deeper, and that there's so many women and men who hide in their clothes or who aren't showing up in their full essence because they don't know how. And so when I started to realize that I could bring in the deeper transformational element and really start to uncover what was going on within people based on how they were dressing and help transition that for them, that's when I was like, okay, I have to pursue this because this is really deep. And so that was about 8 years ago, I think 8 years ago, when I left corporate and really focused on building my own business.
That's beautiful. I just love that story. And I think it's so meaningful because, so much what we wear tells the world what we think about ourselves.
Yep.
So
Yes. And what we don't wear, I think, tells the world what we think about ourselves, right? 'Cause,
that's exactly right.
right? Scarcity, worthiness. Yeah, it's fascinating. Mhm.
So you talk about your company is about soul styling. I love that concept. Um, but I want you to expand on that. What does it mean? How did you come to that? And how do you explain that to your clients? How do you work with your clients on that level of bringing the soul into what they wear?
So it's fascinating because I've been doing the deeper work with style for many years. And it wasn't until I think it was last year when the term soul stylist actually landed for me. I was like, oh, that's what I do. It's because so much of what I do is about helping my clients get clear on who they truly are. What's that inner essence? What is it that's so magical about them? What is it that's so unique about them that maybe they're hiding or they've kind of forgotten or they've pushed aside? So it's bringing clarity to that, bringing clarity to what they actually want to create in their life, who they want to be, and then what's a style that represents that future version of themselves so that they can start dressing now as that person. And so as we're reworking their wardrobe and how they're showing up in the physical, I'm taking them through a lot of deep inner work too. I do a lot of inner energy work, a lot of energy clearing, cleansing. There's coaching that goes into it. We release limiting
Yes.
beliefs like detoxing. So it's this full, I always say like your style's going on a journey and your soul's going on a journey at the same time. And so that's just over time I've been able to shape that and and craft that for my clients.
That's so beautiful because you can put people in what expresses who they are and they look good in. But unless they make those changes on the inside, unless they embody it and feel like, yeah, I can do that, they step up to it, then it just becomes a costume,
Yes.
right?
Yes. And then they still, walk into a room and they're still like, oh, people are looking at me. They have to exude it and become that and realize what their true style is. It's not what I tell them they should be wearing. It's like working with them to pull out who they truly are and what their true style is. So every single one of my clients look completely different. They're different shapes, sizes, colors, styles. They're all complete. None of them dress like me. They're all completely unique and different, which is what I really love.
Yes, I love that because, and I mean, that's what my work is about too. It's about finding the uniqueness of each person and finding the beauty in each person. Not everybody realizes that they're beautiful, and they are.
That's the best. I'm sure you've experienced this before too, when a client finally looks in the mirror and thinks and says, "Oh my gosh, I look so beautiful. I feel beautiful. I feel amazing." That like I literally I'm like standing back, like tears in my eyes, like trying to hold it in, but I'm like
Mhm.
bawling, right? Or when they finally see themselves, like they finally see themselves in the mirror.
That's
It's
wonderful. Yeah, I know. And I think there's something very humbling about this work because people are showing you in their vulnerability. And I know that with a lot of my clients, a lot of women have had some kind of abuse at some time in their lives. And so they're afraid of showing up. It's therapy. We jokingly call it retail therapy. Yeah, that was what I was going to ask you. So I would love for you to describe a transformative experience that one of your clients had, particularly stands out.
There's so many. I there's one that I usually talk a lot about, and it has to do with like her money energy and how she was able to go from shopping at Costco to being on yachts with billionaires. And I talk about that a lot. Yet for some reason with you, I feel like sharing a different one today. And it's one of my clients that when she came to me, she was definitely hiding in her clothes. She was scared to show off her body. She was on a weight loss health journey. And so she had just, stories around that. And, she just wasn't comfortable in her body. And we were able to uncover through the soul styling, we were able to uncover that she had she knew she had a history of sexual assault. And she was purposefully hiding her body because of that, because she didn't want to attract in any unwanted attention. So that was a subconscious protection mechanism. And so we were able to clear that out, and she was able to release the shame that she was still holding on to. And now let me tell you, she did a photo shoot and she had on like a form fitted, beautiful kind of sheer top. I mean, she is just like glowing. And it's not just about the clothes. It's like you see the transformation in their eyes, you see the transformation in their face. And she was in the process of leaving corporate and launching her business. And so she was scared to show up online, and she had to attract in clients. And so seeing her go through that journey where now she is posting pictures of herself, and she feels so confident wearing the clothes, and she's attracted in clients, and then she just attracted in this like dream consulting job. So it's just so beautiful to watch that happen as they are reworking their wardrobe and their style.
That just gave me goosebumps. But the biggest obstacles to working with clients? You talked about that. Sometimes it's their self image, their history, and sometimes it's monetary. Is there any one that you think is dominant?
I'm thinking, okay, the two that come to mind that I've been hearing a lot lately, uh, a lot, well, for women, a lot will say, well, I don't want to work with you until I lose the weight. And they've been on this weight loss journey for years and years and years. And I have to just be really honest and open with them like, hey, there's a deeper reason why you're not losing the weight, why you're not releasing it. There's something emotional that we get to work through. And let's work through it because the journey is a few months. We're not going to get to the shopping towards the end of it anyway. Let's start to work through it. And you'll be amazed that the weight starts to release. And sure enough, it does because they start to actually see themselves and love themselves. So that's a big one to work through. And then the money scarcity is definitely another one that comes up a lot. And I think it's just, and forgive me if you can hear my puppy barking in the background. She's being kind of naughty. The money, the scarcity is definitely one that comes up because I think not so much for men. Men have an easier time with that, but for the women, I think it's just the worthiness of investing in themselves and feeling like, why would I spend money on clothes and on myself? I dislike the word should. I should be investing in my business or I should be putting the money elsewhere because they don't think it's important to invest in themselves. And they're realizing that like it's who they be in the world that's actually going to attract in what they truly desire. So your clothing and how you show up is like paramount to that. So definitely working through that has been a big one. Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot. And I think that last point is interesting because I know about something that you do with your clients or that you offer to your clients that I think is one of the most exciting programs I've ever heard of. And that has to do, I know that you have the travel bug and that you take groups of women, small, intimate groups of women on shopping trips around the world.
I do.
And you have one coming up, I think, this spring or summer.
This
So
summer.
talk to us about that. And
Yes.
how can people get involved?
Yes. As you mentioned, I love to travel. I just love to go and explore the world and see different cultures and just experience. And I learned a long time ago also that when you shop internationally, if you're into luxury and designer goods, that, so many of those brands are actually born in Europe. So when you go and you shop for them there, they're less expensive because they don't have the import fees that the US has to pay. So they're less expensive. And then you get the VAT back, which is like the sales tax. You get that back when you leave the country. So I learned that you can save about $1,000 on like a nice designer handbag or some really great designer shoes. Yes. So I purposefully will do most of my, luxury designer shopping when I'm international. And I thought to myself, there got to be other women that want to do this too. And I have no problem. I could pack up tomorrow and go to Paris on my own. I have no problem traveling alone. I love it. It doesn't scare me. I'm good at navigating. And I realized that there were a lot of women that don't feel comfortable doing that. Maybe they don't know how to plan. Maybe they're a little nervous to be abroad. They don't really, there's a little bit of fear there. So I thought to myself, okay, maybe I could create these intimate experiences to actually take women that would love to do this and have this experience to Europe. And so I just thought, okay, I'm going to figure this out. And so I just figured it out. And I had the first retreat last year to Paris. And then I had the second, the Style and Soul retreat is what I call them. The second one was in Milan earlier this year. And it's this combination of course, style, going to local boutiques, going to the designer stores, going to the vintage stores. And then it's also soul filling activities like different museums, picnics in the park, just being out in nature, admiring the beauty. So it's really to fill your soul and amplify your style. So it's a beautiful, combination that I've put together. And yes, I have the next one. Yeah. Okay. It's 2025. So last year I did Milan and the year before I did Paris. I'm forgetting that we're already in 2025. Okay. So this year, June is the next Style and Soul retreat, and it's going to be in Florence. So that one I'm super excited about because now I've got all these great connections in Italy. I'm like getting to know different designers and different stores. And so I'm able to bring and create these experiences for these women that they might most likely would not be able to do on their own because they just don't have the same connections that I do. So Florence is June 9th through the 14th, and I still have 3 spots left for that one. And then the next retreat this year is actually going to be in Tokyo in October.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm gonna branch out from Europe and try something a little different in Tokyo. So those are the two for this year. So
yeah.
very excited.
The Japanese women have such fabulous style. And one of my dear friends who unfortunately passed a few years ago was from Florence. And she always dressed to the nines. Interestingly, she didn't always, she had, her accessories were always high end, top end.
Mhm.
And then she would she just had a flair. You know, I don't have to tell you, you know, these
Yeah,
women, they just know it's in their DNA.
yes, it is. It's
You know,
because
the other, oh,
I was just gonna say, like in Florence and Italy, they're so good about tailoring. Like everything is tailored perfectly for the body. That's why I think they always look so good because it's just like it could be, you don't have to spend a ton of money. It's just so beautifully tailored. Like the love that's put
right.
into all the clothes there, you can really see.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I tell everybody they need especially if you're short like I am, you need a tailor, a good tailor.
Yes.
You mentioned something about one of the benefits of these trips, and I think it's highly important. Uh, Another dear friend of mine passed recently, and she was a Vogue fashion model in the 1960s and the 70s. Gorgeous, beautiful woman. But she was beautiful inside and out. She was a fabulous painter, a poet, a writer. She was amazing. And she was in Paris one time with another friend of ours. They asked her, I think maybe it was with her niece, and she asked her about her years of modeling. She didn't even want to talk about that. She wanted to talk about the art and the architecture and how that informs the eye to what beauty is. And I think that's the essence of what you do with soul styling.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you're right. It's like when you are in, especially in Europe, everything is just so beautiful. Everything is so beautiful around you. And I always tell people joining, you don't have to buy anything and you will still be forever changed because you're allowing yourself to be in that environment of beauty and style. And it just naturally elevates your frequency and your level of attraction. Like one woman who came on the Milan retreat had never even allowed herself to go into a designer store because she didn't feel worthy. She didn't feel like she fit in. And we walked into Prada together, and she was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And she ended up picking out the bag that three of us bought. I'm like, so obviously you belong here. You picked out the, but we three of us bought it in a different color. And now she messages me. She's like, I was in Beverly Hills and I just went into the Dior store and bought this limited edition. And then we went into Chanel and I'm like, yes, you get it. And you don't have to buy anything, but like just go and just be in the beauty and be in that frequency because it really does change you.
You know, with so much going on in the world right now, and there's so much to complain about, so many people are living in fear. And I think just turning attention to beauty and excellence
Yep.
and having something to look at elevates your soul.
I agree with you. And also like looking at nature, because when you look at those things, it's like, what are you grateful for? And you have the gratitude in it, it's abundance. I mean, nature is always abundant, it's always recreating, it's always beautiful. And so, yes, being in those environments, and again, it's not about buying it or like affording it or having the money or like it's just allowing yourself to be surrounded by that beauty and have gratitude for it because you're right, that completely shifts. That's what you're focused on. And then that's what you're going to call into the world versus living in the fear. Oh, I could never have that. I can't do this. Everything's horrible, blah, blah, blah. That you're going to keep recreating that. So, like, it's okay to live in this. And it's not like, I'm not saying like lose touch with reality, yet just like let yourself notice the beauty and the abundance all around.
Wonderful. So I know you're in Southern California, you're in Orange County, you work with clients directly. Do you do any online work, people?
I have clients all around the US. I have clients international. So I do, yes, I do work in person. I also, during the pandemic, I figured out how to do everything virtually. So I, it goes both ways. Or I have some clients that like to fly out to me because we obviously have such great stores down here in Orange County and even in LA, bless LA right now, but you know, going up there, there's beautiful stores as well. Or some clients I fly to them. Like I have clients in Dallas and you know, I fly there and I customize everything. I map everything out. I do my research so that everything is super custom for that specific client. So there, yes, there's no barrier to working with me in that regards.
So, Amanda Weil, how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah.
And the deadline for joining your trip to Florence this year?
Yes. So the easiest thing, either my Instagram, it's Amanda, it's actually Amanda Weil style, AmandaWeil style is my Instagram, and then that's also my website. And so both are great ways to get in touch with me. If you send me a DM on Instagram, it's me. I will respond back to you. Or through my website, there's my email. There's ways to get in touch with me there. There's also information about Florence. The deadline for Florence right now, as I mentioned, we only have 3 spots left. So it's going to be as soon as those fill up. And realistically, it's probably the end of February is going to be the cutoff, just because I do curate a lot of the experiences based on the clients that are coming. So I need the space and time to curate that. So end of February if it doesn't sell out sooner.
I'll put the link in the information here in the recording so people can see that.
Thank
Well,
you.
Amanda Weil, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and this upliftment
Oh,
about style. And I have a fabulous trip, have a fabulous year,
thank you.
and thank all of you for joining us today. Take good care of yourselves. Embrace your inner style.